Larry Caputo, the former spouse of Long Island medium Theresa Caputo, is currently hospitalized. Larry Caputo, the former spouse of Long Island medium star Theresa Caputo, is presently hospitalized in critical condition following an alleged narcotic overdose. In response to the incident, Theresa Caputo stated, "This is sheer madness. Larry will not improve. Throughout his life, he will maintain a connection to addiction." Theresa and Larry were in a prolonged relationship, however they separated owing to some issues. Despite Theresa's current preoccupation with her professional obligations and offering solace to individuals through spiritual connections, she has unequivocally conveyed her discontent regarding Larry's circumstances. The winds on Long Island were intense that morning. An unsettling chill permeated the Caputo residence. Theresa Caputo remained silent in her kitchen, sipping coffee from her preferred cup, her long platinum hair secured as she gazed out the window. Her phone vibrated on the marble countertop. One look, and her heart plummeted. Larry Caputo was hospitalized following an opioid overdose. Severe condition. The language was uncomplicated, yet the anguish it conveyed resonated profoundly. She had not communicated with Larry in months, not since their last telephonic dispute, during which he had appeared remote, almost like a specter of the guy she had recognized. However, Theresa, the esteemed medium who had provided solace to numerous families by linking them with deceased relatives, was now compelled to face the gradual vanishing of a man who was undeniably still alive. She shut her eyes and said, "Why, Larry? Why, once more?" Theresa and Larry had been wed for several decades. They constituted an ideal team, or at least they aspired to be. She is a daring and unconventional spiritual medium endowed with a transcendent gift. He, the reserved and loving spouse, endeavored to remain on the periphery of her burgeoning popularity. However, in private, matters were never straightforward. Larry experienced difficulty, not alone with fame, but also with a sense of invisibility. As Theresa became increasingly engrossed in readings, tours, and media attention, Larry resorted to substances, initially socially, then out of desperation. Their divorce occurred not with animosity, but with acceptance. Theresa once confided in a close friend, "I was unable to save him. I communicate with the deceased, but I was unable to connect with the man beside me." Theresa remained seated in her vehicle outside the hospital. She had not intended to attend. Indeed, she had vowed not to do so. However, an unseen force drew her here, a spiritual whisper, an instinctual sensation, or maybe an enduring connection between their souls. She did not request preferential treatment upon her admission to the ICU. She did not request to meet him. However, the nurse identified her and delicately escorted her to Larry's room. He remained inert. Devices emitted beeping sounds. Tubes extended into and out of his arms. She positioned herself at the foot of the bed, her heart racing. "You obstinate man," she said. "You consistently insisted on doing it your way." She grasped his hand briefly. Frigid, delicate. Theresa shut her eyes and, almost intuitively, became receptive to the spirit. At that moment, she perceived it, a communication not from the beyond, but from the depths of Larry's being. An understated apology. A recollection of mirth. A request for absolution. Additionally, an intense feeling of remorse. Teardrops cascaded down her cheeks. Despite their challenges, Larry was formerly her closest friend, her companion, her residence. The media was rife with conjecture. Some described her words as severe. Her statement, "This is sheer madness. Larry will never improve," was misinterpreted. However, those who genuinely understood Theresa were aware of the truth. She was not exhibiting cruelty. She was being genuine. She had witnessed addiction previously. She had experienced its hold through the anguish of numerous bereaved families. In secrecy, Theresa embarked on a new endeavor, not only to communicate with the deceased but also to advocate for the living individuals succumbing to addiction daily. She established a charity in Larry's honor, collaborating with families fragmented by dependency and denial. What about Larry? He endured, albeit marginally. The certainty of his healing, whether medical or spiritual, was ambiguous. However, one aspect had altered. He had truly perceived Theresa. Amidst her tears, he experienced a sensation he had not felt in a considerable time: hope. Occasionally, those we lose are not deceased. They are merely fractured. At times, healing originates not from the spirit, but from truth, forgiveness, and enduring love. Nevertheless, it was a tranquil Wednesday afternoon at Lux Hair and Beauty, a fashionable salon in Long Island. The air was infused with the scent of lavender shampoo and hair dye, accompanied by the gentle sounds of pop music in the background. Clients were dispersed across multiple chairs, perusing magazines or conversing with their hairdressers. Among them was Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, positioned before a mirror, anticipating the return of her colorist, Mia, with a toner mixture. Theresa, famous for her platinum blonde hair and exuberant demeanor, had frequented this salon for years. However, there was an unusual sensation. Mia, a stylist in her 30s with vibrant red hair and an effervescent demeanor, reappeared and commenced brushing Theresa's hair. They engaged in a casual conversation over life, the weather, and Mia's forthcoming wedding. However, Theresa abruptly halted mid-sentence, her smile diminishing somewhat. She briefly shut her eyes, then gazed into the mirror, establishing eye contact with Mia's reflection. "Mia," Theresa inquired gently, "may I pose a question to you? I know this may be unforeseen, but I am sensing a profound energy surrounding you." Mia appeared astonished. "Oh, certainly?" Theresa's voice transitioned into her characteristic reading tone, soft, earnest, and imbued with passion. "A woman is advancing. She succumbed to a condition affecting the chest, possibly the lungs or heart, and I believe this is hereditary from your mother's lineage. She continually presents to me a brooch featuring a rose motif." Mia became immobile. Her hands quivered slightly, grasping the brush aloft. "My grandmother possessed a rose brooch that she consistently adorned," she murmured. "She succumbed to a heart attack 6 years prior." Theresa acquiesced with a slight nod. "She wishes to express her gratitude for your support of your mother throughout her period of mourning. She asserts that you were the cohesive force that united the family." She repeatedly references the dress. "Did you discover any of her belongings during your recent move?" Mia's eyes filled with tears. "I discovered her wedding garment in a box last week. I was unaware that we possessed it. I contemplated incorporating a little of it into my own wedding attire." Theresa smiled affectionately, tears welling in her eyes. "That is her method of indicating that she will accompany you on your wedding day. She is exceedingly proud of you, Mia. She expresses admiration for your hair, noting that she would never have the audacity to dye hers, yet believes the red color complements you well." At this juncture, the entire salon had become silent. Stylists and clients observed the incident unfold in reverent stillness. Some wiped their eyes with Kleenex. Mia relinquished the brush and enveloped Theresa firmly. "Thank you," she murmured amidst her tears. "I was unaware that I required that information today." Theresa caressed her back softly. "Spirit encounters us unexpectedly, even while seated in a salon chair adorned with foils." Upon exiting the salon later that day, with her hair impeccably styled and her heart elated, Theresa grinned to herself. Nevertheless, on a gloomy afternoon in Long Island, the typical buzz of anticipation permeated Theresa Caputo's salon-turned-reading place. Admirers and supporters of the Long Island medium convened with the expectation of establishing connections with deceased relatives. In the crowd was Emily Harper, a reserved 26-year-old woman seated in the back corner, grasping a little locket around her neck. Inside was a photograph of her mother, Ruth, who had succumbed to cancer about 3 months prior. Emily had remained largely silent since the funeral. Grief had rendered her insubstantial. Her mother had been her closest confidant, her supporter, her sanctuary. Existence, without her, resembled being in a vacant chamber, where even recollections murmured faintly. Theresa, characterized by her voluminous hair and generous spirit, entered the room with her customary vibrancy. She abruptly halted, her eyes widened as she surveyed the room. "The spirit is manifesting powerfully," Theresa remarked, surveying her surroundings. "I am acquiring a female companion. She succumbed to disease, and she is presenting me with a pink rose. She is also revealing a young woman who adorns her locket. Is that comprehensible to anyone?" Emily inhaled sharply, her hand instinctively reaching for the necklace at her neck. Her eyes filled with tears. Theresa approached her cautiously and knelt gently near her chair. "Darling, I must inform you that your mother is present. She has been with you daily since her demise. She claims you have been weeping yourself to slumber," clutching her scarf. Emily acquiesced, rendered speechless. The scarf was her mother's cherished possession, and she had retained it since the funeral. "She conveys that you hold yourself accountable, as if you could have done more. However, she desires you to cease. She claims you were her entire world. Your love provided her the fortitude to smile despite her suffering." Theresa rested her hand on Emily's quivering one. "She expresses pride in your effort to rise from bed and attend today. She wants you to recall how she sang to you from your childhood, something pertaining to stars?" Emily ultimately murmured. "She sang 'Twinkle, twinkle, little star' nightly until I turned 12. Theresa smiled softly. "She merely performed that for me," she states. "Inform my little star that she will never be solitary. I am present each time." She glances upward. The room was quiet, but for Emily's gentle cries. However, they were no longer the cries of despair. Their sobs signified liberation, an affirmation of being acknowledged, recognized, and embraced. Theresa embraced Emily in a prolonged, silent hug. "She is perpetually by your side, dear. One must listen with one's heart." Upon Emily's departure from the salon that day, the rain had ceased, and the clouds had started to disperse. A solitary beam of sunlight penetrated the sky, illuminating the path ahead of her. After several months, Emily smiled for the first time. She now understood that her mother had not abandoned her. She had merely integrated into the illumination. Nonetheless, the day in Long Island was tranquil and autumnal. The air possessed a brisk chill, as golden leaves fluttered in the wind. Within a snug office embellished with candles and familial portraits, Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, was readying herself for another private reading. Her characteristic blonde hair was impeccably styled, and her energy vibrated as she sensed the familiar attraction from the spirit realm. Martin and Elena Rivera, a couple in their early 50s, stood outside the door. They clasped hands firmly, their eyes swollen and crimson. Nearly a year had elapsed since they lost their sole son, Lucas, in a horrific automobile accident. The sorrow had been insufferable. Martin immersed himself in his task, while Elena descended into stillness. Their formerly exuberant residence was now permeated with unexpressed grief. They were uncertain about their belief in mediums or communications from the afterlife. However, a friend had urged them to meet Theresa. They arrived, filled with uncertainty, optimism, and sorrowful hearts. Upon entering the room, Theresa greeted them cordially. "Greetings, dear. My name is Theresa. Please enter and make yourselves at ease," she stated, impulsively presenting a box of tissues. She sensed the oppressive atmosphere as soon as they entered. Before they could take their seats, Theresa's disposition changed. Her eyes expanded marginally, and she positioned a hand onto her chest. "A young man is advancing. He is your son, correct?" she inquired, already perceiving the emotional surge. Elena inhaled sharply. Martin blinked swiftly, clutching the armrest of his chair. "He claims his name is Lucas, or Luke. He died unexpectedly in a vehicle. He is indicating the steering wheel to me." Elena sprang into tears. "Indeed, Lucas. Our offspring. He perished in an automobile accident while returning from college." Theresa shut her eyes, concentrating. He states, "Mother, cease attributing blame to yourself. You advised me to undertake the late drive, however it was not your responsibility." Elena wept more intensely. "I implored him to return home that evening. I believed it would be more secure. Theresa persisted. He possesses a tattered red hoodie. Is it something you retain? Martin articulated his thoughts for the first time. It is the hoodie he consistently donned. Elena utilizes it for sleep each night. Theresa smiled gently. He is aware. He states, Father, I observed you in the grave on my birthday. He read every word of the letter you placed behind the stone. Martin's lips quivered. I corresponded with him. I was uncertain of its significance. It does, Theresa replied softly. He asserts, I am content, I am complete, I am joyful. I did not endure suffering. He wants for you to experience life again. He longs for your laughter. He claims that you both previously danced in the kitchen. Elena acquiesced, concealing her mouth. We have not danced since his passing. He wants you to, he states. You still possess a life. Affectionately regard one another as you cherished me. Text, I will eternally remain your boy, and I shall await, merely not in sorrow. The room was silent, save for the subdued sobbing of the pair. It was as if a shroud had been removed. The pain persisted, although a ray of light had penetrated the darkness. Upon the conclusion of the session, Theresa embraced both individuals. He cherishes you above all else. You provided him with everything. He has not departed, merely undergone transformation. That night, Martin and Elena deviated from their customary stillness. They conversed about Lucas, wept while laughing, and as a cherished old song played on the radio, Martin rose, grasped Elena's hand, and led her into the kitchen. For the first time in a year, they engaged in dance. Greetings, esteemed viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. I hope your day is going well. If you like the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel.